Well, it turns out there's not that many people panicking because the boat ramp's absolutely packed with lots of people. Might as well go out diving when it's better than going and sitting at the supermarket trying to fight everyone for the last loaf of bread. The weather's really good today. We're going to see if we can go further around and go out to the Mokes. Since it's March, it's a better time to go out to the outer islands and hopefully get into a lot of fish and maybe some clear water. We can always check on the way back in on the coastline or at Little Barrier if it's no good. We'll check in with you soon and see how it goes. Just a few tips to help people out that struggle with their sinuses with diving. Lots of people always say, you know, I can't equalize, I have problems with my sinuses. A few things to help out with that. Before you dive is where it all starts. Stay away from dairy products. I try and avoid eating too much for breakfast. I'll have a reasonable amount really early and then I won't eat for a while during the day. Then my digestive system's not working as hard. The mucus doesn't build up as much in my sinuses. Dairy products is really bad for my sinuses too. I get cold ears, and when my ears get cold, I get sore ears and I struggle equalising. So I wear a beanie the whole way out. Keep that cold air off your ears. Avoid getting surfer's ear down the track as well. I don't want to have to get my ears drilled out. So I stay nice and warm, drink a lot of water. Water is probably the biggest key to make sure that you keep your sinuses nice and clear. Same again, stops that mucus build up. And no doubt that will help you with your diving. Drink all the way through the day and a lot in the morning too. We hopped in at the first spot. See here is a lot of blue mau. We're right on sort of a weed edge, sort of reefy area. There's schools and schools of blue mau flowing through. They're actually not always a great sign for big pelagics or bigger predatory fish. Yeah, they often will be in a really good spot with lots of fish, but in this case there's not a lot of other bait fish with them. They're pretty residential, so they'll be here even if there aren't big predatory fish here. So we decided to move on. This is what we're looking for. The best indication for bigger predatory fish are these big koharu. There's masses of them here. Actually saw this before we were going into the original spot. You could see some fish working. Did think they were mostly trevally and kahawai, but once you got in the water there was massive schools of these really big koharu. And the big koharu are a great sign. Big snapper, big kingfish, everything will eat them. The bigger the koharu, often the bigger the predators. Before getting amongst any of these kingfish or any of these schoolfish, always make a dive below all this bait. As I'm drifting down through here, you never know what might be underneath them. You get snapper feeding underneath the kingfish and the schoolfish, picking up any leftovers that might be left behind. You see there's a few kingies cruising around down here. It's down at about 18 metres. I've spotted a snapper that's sort of milling about. He's pretty excited by all the commotion. He comes cruising up, try and take a reasonably long shot. The shot doesn't look great, but it's actually not too bad due to the angle of shooting down on it. It's a pretty good start. And you can often find this when you see lots of big schools of bait fish and schoolfish. Make a dive as deep as you can below them, because often you'll get other fish that will be sitting underneath them. This was a good start to the day. You'll notice here when I kill my fish, I always bleed them, get all that blood out of the meat, and I will actually gut and gill it as well to keep it tidy. The action kept happening. The koharu and all the schoolfish kept coming past this point. Now we didn't try and chase them too much, we just stayed in this one spot and they kept doing loops around. So on the second loop through, I did the same as what I did on the first dive. I made another dive. I'd seen a nice big snapper cruising around underneath them, and you'll see him here. He's probably pushing my luck a little bit. He'd been chased a couple of times by some of the other divers. Sort of taking a long shot here. I probably should have hit this one, but did clean miss him. And that was going to be the last time we're going to see him. I sort of stuffed up my one chance. I was hoping he was going to stay in the weed. Once I've done this, I've decided, well, actually I'll shoot one of these big koharu and we'll cut it up and see if I can get some more of that snapper action going. So you see here, the kingfish are getting pretty excited by it. Didn't actually take long for them to start coming up and have a crack at the koharu that we were shooting. The koharu just keep coming through, so I thought I'd cut a few bits of koharu up, because as I mentioned before, everything loves eating them. And you'll see, this is not really that strategical, but you'll see now as I cut it up further, I'm trying to cut them into big chunks. These nice big chunks here, they'll sink a bit faster, and also they'll be able to get past the smaller bait fish or school fish that would eat it before it gets below them, because we want to try and get those big snapper feeding on the bigger bits. It's a bit like trying to catch a big snapper. Big baits will catch a bigger fish. But you see the main issue here is the kingfish just keep eating it all. So this sort of became a bit pointless, because it didn't matter where I put the burley down or the kingies or all that revved up, they just ate it all. And that sort of ended my chances on any decent sized snapper. A few smaller ones were coming in, but we sort of made all our luck earlier on. So I decided to push out a bit deeper. It started to quieten off a bit. I worked my way out until I felt like I was on the edge of the reef. The best indication from this is you can't see it so well just yet, but the demoiselles are nice and high in the water column. If you dive right on the edge of the demoiselles, they're normally going to be on the edge of the reef. So if you see demoiselles out wide and see it was a bit dirty, obviously I couldn't see the bottom here. The demoiselles sort of can tell me where I should be diving. As I go down further, the indications get better. A big school of pink mau-mau. Pink mau-mau and sort of the Mokohinaus, the Cuvier, the ornaments and places like that are not necessarily a fantastic indication. They are an indication, but they will live in a lot of deep country all around those islands. They won't necessarily require a lot of tide. The higher up in the water column, normally there'll be more tide, it'll be pushing the krill up. We're right on the edge of the reef here. There's actually a really nice drop off. I haven't dived here before. I'm going out to sort of a weed edge, probably a little bit broken for my liking, but the sand is a good colour. To get back down to the bottom here, it's probably about 32, 33 metres. Lie on the bottom here just in case there's a rogue terraki, or places like this you will find some golden snapper. Turns out mostly it's just pink mau-mau and butterfly perch. There's not a lot going on down here, but you never know. It's a good time of year, something good might have popped out of the kelp down the bottom here. So look out onto the sand, sort of peering out, turn around and decide I'm just going to take one of these pink mau-mau. There's one of those really cool pink mau-mau with the black on their back. I call them super pinkies. And make my way back to the surface. These pink mau-mau are very, very cool looking. As I referred to them before, sort of call them a super pinky. Certainly not a scientific name, but you will quite often see one or two of these in big schools of pink mau-mau. I head in shallower as it's starting to get a bit quiet out deep and the tides run out. Find a few snappers sort of parked up in the kelp. That's the problem with the long spear gun. Trying to be crafty with the way I'm shooting these smaller snapper in the shallows so I don't destroy the end of my spear. Here's a nice looking spot to come snoop over. You'll see all the lumps that are coming up here. Now I'm trying to find out where the best looking country is going to be on the other side of these rocks. So they're off to the right here. There's not a lot going on down there, but as I noticed to the left, there's a bit more of a gutter setup created there, and instantly I see a small snapper there. Could have very well been a big one here, but I thought I'd just focus on the small one. It turns out it was a better idea. It's a nice looking boulder you'll see from the park up, and it doesn't actually require there to be much bait fish, and you can't really like that spot sitting there. On the way back, we've been seeing kingfish all day, but we thought we'd just get one at the end of the day, keep it nice and fresh. Sam got this nice fish, and I dropped him off right on the pinnacle. It's a good one, maybe 20 kilos, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty fat. Full, yeah.
Stoned it.
Yep, got a lucky shot. There's about 5 of them came in. Just down checking a deeper gutter, snapper, and saw this off in the distance here.
Perfect. It was a good day out at the Mokes. We got a whole heap of fish. Sam got a good kingy that would be 20 odd kilos. We got a whole heap of good snapper. There was lots of snapper, lots of pink mama, trevally, really big lunker, coharoo. But we've got to look after all the fish afterwards, and often people will just have a couple of bags of ice in the chili bin, chuck their fish in there and just sort of think that's good enough. But what we do is we rip open the bags of ice, salt ice, because salt ice is better with the fish. You don't want to put your fish with fresh water or with fresh ice. So rip open the bag of salt ice. This has got 4 bags in here, and then we pour a heap of salt water in here as well and create an ice slurry. And the water is absolutely freezing cold. It keeps all the fish nice and stiff. You see how stiff the fish are? That means they're good and set, and it means the meat will stay nice and cool. If you let your fish get warm, they won't taste as good later on. So it's really important you cool down your fish. I gut and gill most of my fish, and I make sure I bleed each one when I get them, just to make sure that I don't have any red blood through the meat when I eat it. There's different takes on what you should do with your fish, but I think it's very important to bleed them. And there's less mess with the guts and the gills gone for when we get home and we can fillet them. So we'll cruise home now and we'll get back and fillet all these fish up.